Money makes the world go round, but not all money is created equal. From stones bigger than your car to chocolate beans, currencies throughout history have been pretty weird. Today, we're counting down the top weirdest currencies ever used. Starting off at number 8. Did you know that one of the weirdest currencies in history wasn't made of gold, silver, or even paper, but bottle caps? That's right, bottle caps, the same ones used to seal soda and beer bottles, once became a form of currency in a real-world crisis. But where and how did this happen? In the mid-2000s, Zimbabwe faced one of the worst hyperinflation crises in history. The local currency became practically worthless as prices soared out of control. Imagine having a billion-dollar note and not being able to buy a loaf of bread. That's how bad things got. During this time, people had to find new ways to trade and survive. And believe it or not, one of the most unusual alternatives to money was bottle caps. But it wasn't just in Zimbabwe. Other regions in Africa and parts of Southeast Asia also started using bottle caps for bartering because they were small, easy to carry, and widely available. Plus, it was much easier to get your hands on bottle caps than stable currency. People started to trade bottle caps for food, drinks, and even basic services. Local stores and small markets accepted them, especially since beverage companies would sometimes exchange the caps for prizes or discounts. Bottle caps weren't officially recognized as money by any government, but they served as a stopgap currency during times of severe economic instability. Amazingly, this is so wild that it's even been featured in pop culture. If you've ever played Fallout, you know that bottle caps are the main currency in the post-apocalyptic world of the game series. It's crazy to think that something so small and simple could take on such huge importance in both the real world and video games. Next up, at number 7, did you know that chocolate was once used as money? Yep, imagine paying for your groceries with cocoa beans. In the ancient civilizations of Mesoamerica, particularly the Aztecs and the Maya, cocoa beans were more valuable than gold. This wasn't just because they loved chocolate. Cocoa beans were actually one of the weirdest forms of currency in history. They didn't just eat them. Cocoa beans were money, like coins. You could buy everything from food to tools, even slaves. For the Aztecs, a rabbit might cost you 10 cocoa beans, and if you wanted a turkey, that'd be 100 beans. So, why cocoa beans? Well, it wasn't just about their delicious potential. Cocoa trees were tricky to grow, so the beans were rare, making them precious. Plus, they were lightweight, easy to carry, and durable, the perfect currency. And get this, the rich? They didn't just hoard gold, they hoard cocoa beans, turning them into luxurious chocolate drinks, sweetened with honey or vanilla. Imagine sipping your wealth. Now, we use paper bills and digital coins, but back then, cocoa was the bittersweet currency of choice. So next time you enjoy a cup of hot chocolate, remember, you're sipping on what was once worth its weight in gold. Pretty cool, right? Up next, at number 6, the squirrel pelts. Yep, we're talking about actual squirrel skins being used as money in parts of medieval Europe, specifically in Russia and Finland during the Middle Ages. But why squirrel pelts? Well, these little furry creatures were more than just cute forest animals. Their fur was highly valued, not just for its warmth, but also for trading. In those cold northern regions, people used squirrel pelts to buy goods like food, tools, and even pay taxes, kind of like using a fuzzy medieval debit card. Can you imagine paying your bills with squirrel pelts today? Squirrel pelts were so important that they were one of the most widely accepted currencies in the region for hundreds of years. In fact, some historians believe that the word kopek, the Russian coin, might come from the word for squirrel in Old Slavic. And here's something even weirder. People didn't just use the fur, they sometimes used whole squirrel bodies. The fur was valuable, but the little critter's paws and tails were also traded. Why whole bodies? Well, some say it was because they were easier to count. But hey, who knows? Of course, as coinage and paper money became more popular, squirrel pelts faded from the economy. But for centuries, these little pelts kept the markets flowing in medieval Europe. Pretty wild, right? From forests to markets, squirrels were more than just backyard critters. They were part of the economy. Imagine that the next time you see one scampering up a tree. Up next, at number 5, did you know that tea was once used as currency? Yep, not just for drinking, but for trading. Let's talk about one of the weirdest forms of money in history, compressed tea bricks. In ancient China, Tibet, and parts of Central Asia, people didn't just sip tea, they spent it. Compressed into solid bricks, this tea was durable, easy to transport, and super valuable. These bricks were used like cash, and you could buy anything from food to horses with them. They were especially popular along the Silk Road, where they were traded across vast regions. And here's the kicker. Tea bricks were edible money. You could either trade them or brew yourself a nice hot cup of tea. So next time you enjoy your tea, remember, what you're drinking was once as good as gold in some parts of the world. Halfway there, at number 4, did you know one of the strangest currencies in history was a stick? Meet the tally stick, a medieval money system that's way more fascinating than it sounds. Used in England England for over 600 years, tally sticks were a way to record debts and payments. Here's how it worked. The stick would be notched to show the amount owed, then split in two. One half stayed with the lender and the other with the borrower. Both pieces fit perfectly together, so no one could cheat the system. If the sticks matched, the debt was real. These tally sticks were used to pay taxes, buy goods, and even settle large transactions. Believe it or not, they were trusted more than coins at the time. It might sound odd, but for centuries, these carved sticks helped keep the economy going. Next up, at number 3, can you imagine using giant stone coins as money? Well, on the tiny island of Yap in the Pacific, that's exactly what they did. These enormous stone discs, called rhinestones, could be up to 12 feet wide and weigh several tons. And guess what? They didn't even move them when they were traded. Instead of physically handing the stone over, ownership was passed by word of mouth. Everyone on the island just knew who owned which stone. Talk about trust, right? So why did they use these massive stones? Well, the stones came from quarries on distant islands, making them rare and valuable. The more difficult the journey, the more valuable the stone. And here's the kicker. Even if a rhinestone was lost at sea, it still counted as money. As long as everyone agreed it existed, it remained in circulation. The giant stone coins of Yap, one of the strangest currencies ever. Imagine if your money was too heavy to move. What would you do? Up at number 2. Ever heard of a store giving out their own money? Well, in Canada, they do. Introducing Canadian Tire Money. This isn't your typical cash. Canadian Tire, a popular retail chain, has been handing out their own money since 1958. It's designed like real currency, with bright colors, a smiling mascot, and even different denominations, ranging from 5 cents to $2. Originally, it was a loyalty program. Every time you shopped at Canadian Tire, you'd get some of this money to use on your next visit. People started collecting it like crazy. But here's the wild part. Some places outside of Canadian Tire have accepted it as payment. From local stores to even farmers markets, Canadian Tire money became a kind of an unofficial currency in Canada. So, while it's not exactly legal tender, it's one of the quirkiest and most beloved currencies around. Only in Canada, eh? And at last, but not least, imagine being a prisoner of war, not just fighting for your life, but trading with an unusual currency, cigarettes. Yes, during World War II, cigarettes became the lifeline for many POWs, a fascinating twist in wartime survival. In camps across Europe and Asia, these little sticks of tobacco transformed into a barter system. A pack of smokes could buy food, medicine, or even protection from guards. In a world where everything felt stripped away, a simple cigarette became power. POWs created their own economies. They'd trade cigarettes for favors, forming a community based on necessity and ingenuity. The allure of cigarettes was so strong that even guards got involved, swapping them for information or goods. So next time you think about currency, remember the humble cigarette. It wasn't just a habit, it was a lifeline, a symbol of resilience, and one of history's weirdest currencies. Would you trade your way to survival?